Hey everybody, and welcome to the Super Combo Podcast, where we talk about anything and everything related to the Dragon Ball TCG. I'm your host, Espira. Today I'm riding solo, and we're going to be talking about the new cards that have come out in the past week, as well as the celebration events. This week we got a lot in terms of cards. We got the Series 5 Power Boosters, the Destruction Rares, and the two SCRs for Series 6. So let's just jump right into it. So let's jump into the power boosters first, because those are pretty isolated and don't really relate to Series 6 as a whole, as they're supporting the older sets. So for the most part, the Series 5 power boosters are trying to amp up the other Wish decks. I think it's no surprise now that out of the Wish decks that we have, the Shenron is the best leader. It is able to be run with just about any engine, and the way that you can turbo out all your Dragon Balls makes it really good. And that's what basically the Series 5 Power Boosters are aiming to do. A lot of the cards are just trying to accelerate the rate at which you can awaken, and you notice that too when you were trying to run the other decks. A friend of mine was running the Frieza Wish Leader for a long while, and you'd see him on like turn 4 still not being able to awaken just because, of bad draws. So having more consistency in being able to get the balls out is really what helps it. That said, though, well, let's just jump into the cards, and then we can talk about, what I think about after that. So there's one for every color. The red one is King Piccolo, Evil Ambitions, and what he does is that when you play him, if your leader is a red Shenron, choose up to 3 Dragon Balls from your deck, put them in the drop, and shuffle your deck. And then if you place cards in your drop area, choose up to 1 a King's Return to Youth from your deck, activate it, and then shuffle your deck. A King's Return to Youth, I believe, puts the 4-drop Piccolo into your hand. Moving on to the blue one, Great Saiyaman, Hero of Justice. When you play this card, if your leader card is a blue Shenron card, choose up to 2 Dragon Ball cards from your deck, add them to your hand, then shuffle your deck. If you added cards to your hand, choose 1 card from your hand and place it in your drop area. Oob, Symbol of Hope. When you play or combo with this card, if your leader is a green Shenron card, choose up to 3 balls from your deck and place them in the drop area. Then shuffle your deck. If you place cards in your drop area, choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards with an energy cost of 1 and KO it. Togoma, Frieza's Loyal Servant. Permanent, if a Frieza or Sorbet card is in play in your battle area, you can play this card in your hand without paying its energy cost. When you play this card, if your leader card is a yellow Shenron, choose up to 1 Dragon Ball from your deck and place it in your drop area. Then shuffle your deck, draw 1 card, and you can't play Togoma for the duration of the turn. And finally, the black one, Vegeta, Reluctant Reinforcements. He has Barrier, and when you play this card, if your leader card is a black Saiyan, place the top 5 cards of your deck into your drop area. Activate main for 1. Place this card in your owner's drop area. Choose 1 black card, battle card, with 19k power from your drop area and play it. So that's getting the burned Vegeta, I believe. So we can see that for all colors besides black, they're basically just trying to give you more ways to be able to get balls into your drop and awaken. And the biggest problem with this is that they don't help the issue of not being able to keep up as much hand advantage as the regular Shenron is. The fact that a lot of these costs, so the red Piccolo costs 1, Great Saiyaman costs 2, Oob 3, and Togoma 2, even though a number of them you can do for free because you can combo or just straight up play them for free. The fact that for the most part the balls go right into the drop means that you're not really recovering your hand as well, and you're not seeing as much of your deck, which I think is a huge boon to what Shenron's able to do, because not only are you getting all your Dragon Balls into the drop area really fast, you're cycling as you're doing it, meaning that your hand is always full and you always have at least something to play on any given turn, which I think is really what the big issue to the Shenron's deck is, that they tend to be slow and they can't really keep up. They have some great payoffs, like the Super Saiyan 4 Goku for the green Shenron leader looks really strong. He's able to clear boards and then swing in with, I think it's double strike or triple strike, something like that, when anything with barrier ended up being able to stay on the board. It's really strong, but the deck just really can't consistently get there. And Oob is a really good one just because you can combo him and he also pops something on the board. So he's got the added versatility there, and I think he's probably the one that has the most playability outside of maybe Tagoma, and that's because I think personally the Frieza Wish deck was almost there. I think it has a lot of burst potential, and being able to just be more consistent is going to help the deck, though I don't think it's going to break it anything. So all in all, I think this is exactly what the archetypes needed. I think they needed a more consistent way to be able to awaken, but at the same time, I think they're a little underwhelming. Simply because they leave you behind on hand advantage while every other deck is plussing like 3-4 cards a turn. And if not plussing, at least cycling away their dead cards. So Android goes actually into great detail about his video. So I recommend going to his channel to watch his analysis on it, where he talks about his deeper opinions on each of the cards. Because I mirror a lot of how he feels. I think they're good, but they're still not great. Like, there was no reason that the cards don't go into the hand outside of the Great Saiyaman one. I think what you gain from being able to get them in your hand still wouldn't even break them. I think they would just make them on par. So that's unfortunate. But then again, we'll see how we get them. So to acquire these cards would be the same thing as the Colossal Warfare Power Boosters. So you go to a sealed event, you'd buy 6 Miraculous Revival Boosters, and depending on your TO, how they want to run the event, you'll get a additional Power Booster with 3 of the 5. I've personally always had an issue with the way the Power Boosters were distributed. Not only do I think having to force stores to buy extra product to be able to even get them is a little shady, but the fact that the boosters themselves have 3 of the 5. I'm not complaining, because they could have easily done 1, and that would have been quite a pain. But it's just the fact that if you're going to give multiple, why not give all 5? And then if you go to an event every week for the month that this promotion is being run, you're going to end up with your playsets. I think that would have been a really great way to do it. And hopefully we see change to that in the future, because it seems that these power boosters are really how they're going to go about pushing older product past its life cycle. And that's really where the issue lies. Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of having to play sealed of older sets. Like, if these were pre-release promos where you would show up to a pre-release, play some sealed, and then get these promos additionally, that would be awesome. But the current model is just, it's not great. Primarily because you're just stuck playing old cards that you already have. So not only are the cards probably not going towards your collection, but the gameplay feels a little dated just because you've seen it over and over again. But all in all, they're good Power Booster promos. They could be better, but anyone trying to play a colored Shenron deck should most definitely pick these up. These will be staples in every single one that they're played in, just because of how much more they allow you to turbo out. The Vegeta one, if your deck is trying to really push the Black Mass Saiyan Burn, it's a good card. I think any card that bursts you for 5, though, is painful, just because Milnemba is definitely still a deck in the meta. But it's there as an option if that's the kind of route you want to take. So jumping on over to the Destruction Rares. So the Destruction Rares are similar to the, what were they called? The Campaign Rares? So the Destruction Rares are very similar to the Clash of Fate rares we got. The Striving to be the Best, Goku and Vegeta, the Chilai, and the red one, the name escapes me. It just goes to show how much play he's seen. So these are just special rares that'll be included in the set. And they're all themed around Majin. Such as Majin Vegeta, Majin Janemba. So just a bunch of villains who have been mind controlled. For those of you who want to know the Dragon Ball lore, these are characters that come from the Dragon Ball Heroes universe. And I want to touch base on that a little bit, just because I think as they've demonstrated with the last few sets, I think a lot of either special rarity cards, such like these destruction rares, or the SCRs of the last few sets will be really coming from Dragon Ball Heroes. And I think Dragon Ball Heroes, as fan servicey as it is, every character can go Super Saiyan 3. Cooler can go Gold just because he said if Frieza can do it, I can. Even though it's a very fan fiction universe, it allows a lot of material for the card game designers to play with. The thing with the game being based off an anime, and one that is produced rather slowly in my opinion, is that we're going to run out of content at some point. And I think having another avenue that it can pull from for all these wild and crazy different characters is a great way to do it. We're going to get Cumber eventually, I have to imagine, Golden Cooler, like I said, Super Saiyan 4 Vegito. So there are lots of different things that can come out of that. So I'm really appreciative of them taking that Dragon Ball Heroes as a source to be able to fetch cards from. So let's dive into the cards themselves. The first one being Vegeta, Agent of Destruction. When you play this card, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards with 25k power or less and KO it. This is a 3 double red card. And for activate main, once per turn, 1 and a blue. And if your leader card is red, this card gets 10k power, double strike, and dual attack for the duration of the turn. So a very powerful mid-range card for red. And I think we're seeing them really try to push red as a color that people want to play. For a long time, it felt like blue and yellow were really the cards getting all the support. And I think now that red is doing a really good job at catching up. Mainly with value cards like these that allow you to push through damage. They often have dual attack. And they really reward you for playing a red leader. So all in all, this Vegeta is great. The blue in the activate main is really interesting. I believe this is one of the first few times, if not the first time, that they've done an alternate color cost on a card. So the card's red, but has a blue activate main. And I like them playing with this. I think it's great for design space. I think it really allows and pushes deck to have to be creative. One of my favorite quotes from game designers is that limitations breed creativity. And I think pushing cards to be restrictive in this kind of fashion really allows people to be creative and try into different things. So moving on, we have another Janemba card, Agent of Destruction. So he's a 4-cost double blue with critical, auto, activate this skill when you play this card from your hand, or warp. At the end of that turn, if it is your turn, choose up to one of your energy and switch it to active mode. And then activate main, send this card to its owner's warp, draw a card, then your opponent places 3 cards from the top of their deck into their drop area. So this is obviously going to be a very expensive rare, primarily because it mills an extra card compared to every other mill card available to the deck. It refreshes an energy, and also it draws you a card. Only downside would be that it doesn't have deflect, which at the end of the day I don't think is really that big of an issue. So I'm pretty happy personally because I was hoping for more Janemba support. However, this one is really strong, gives the deck a lot of flexibility, and for the most part I feel like the meta has slowed down to a point where we can jam a few more 4-drops. Now, I don't think you're going to be running 12 Janembas, 4-drops in the deck. I think that is way too much. But I do feel like now Reality Bender will probably take a step back and have itself as be maybe as a 1 or 2 of to give place for Agent of Destruction. Because the extra mill is huge. That means that you're going to have to proc significantly less if you're able to get them off a couple of times. Whereas at the moment, I think you need 18 Janemba activations in a game, in a typical game, to be able to mill out your opponent. This cuts that down by 3, 4 if you get it off a couple. So it's very powerful, and the fact that it draws you a card and stands up in energy means that you're not going to let yourself be vulnerable. One big thing about Janemba is that you have to slow roll your mill because you want to make sure that you always have energy to be able to react to your opponent's push. And this just allows you to do that. So overall, very powerful card, a chase card guaranteed. So I would, if you can get your copies, I would get your copies because they're going to be expensive. Now we have Lord Slug, Agent of Destruction. He is a 3 double green cost, 20k, and he has an auto. When you play this card, your opponent chooses one card from their hand and places it in their drop area. Activate main once per turn for green. Choose up to one Slug's Army card from your hand with an original energy cost of 3 or less, other than Lord Slug, Agent of Destruction, and play it. So, I don't know much about the Slug archetype, but right from the get-go, this card's good. Just because it allows you to be able to flood the board with Slug cards. I know Slug needs a lot of relies on Bond, and specifically with Slug's Army. So this just allows you to be able to push out more cards on the board, which is really strong, and it gets rid of a card from your opponent's hand. All in all, it's just a solid card. I have to imagine that the goal is to evolve over it afterwards as well. So I like it. It's good. I don't think this pushes Lord Slug to be, a blowaway deck, but I would watch out for it. Slug is getting a lot of support, and I think it'd be real good of you to be aware of the archetype at least. Another green one, Android 13, Agent of Destruction. A 3 cost, double green, 20k with critical. Activate main for 2. Choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards and KO it. Then your opponent chooses one card from their hand and places it in their drop area. I think this card is huge. Basically, it can be played in any green deck, and it really should. A powerful thing to have is an energy sink. And the thing is, with Dragon Ball right now, a lot of things are turn restricted. You can only do things once a turn, or they kill themselves after using their ability, like Dende or Kami per se. And this one's huge because as long as you have 2 energy available to you during your main phase, you can KO a card and make them drop a card from their hand. And that's extremely powerful. Simply because it gives you options when your hand just isn't working out. Attached to that it's a 20k crit body, and it's just a really strong card. A green shell will look anything like having Chalais on board with this guy, meaning that if you're able to appropriately control the board, you'll also be massively destroying your opponent's hand. So it's good that green is getting the support, primarily because, like I was saying earlier, red and green have really felt left behind for a while. And I think it's great value cards like these, especially now that we're in a slower meta, to be able to allow them to catch up and see more play. Cards like these make me excited to play green. So I'm looking forward to what'll come out of it once these cards come out. Now we have Bojack, Agent of Destruction. A 3 cost, double yellow, 20k body. When you play this card, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, and switch it to rest mode. Activate main for 2. If this card is in rest mode, choose your opponent's leader card. Switch it to rest mode, and it can't be switched to active mode until the end of your opponent's next turn. So this card is really interesting due to the fact that it taps and keeps them frozen, your opponent's leader, which is actually ridiculous. The biggest thing is just that it prevents Janemba from being able to push mill, stopping draw power for your opponent, because oftentimes a lot of decks rely on the leader to be able to push through their deck. You're stopping another attacker, and a lot of abilities impact battle cards, but not straight up leaders, which means that this is a great option for any. It's a good safety valve. It's great to have that option to be able to stop leaders that might be oppressive. So all in all, I think it's just a good card. And it does help Bojack out. It doesn't make the deck broken. I think Bojack still has a long way to go before it's a broken deck, but it's able to do things. And it definitely has legs to stand on. Also, another note I'm going to touch on about Bojack, and I believe this is the SR that was released, where it said if your opponent actives a card, so if your opponent stands a card, they have to warp a card from their hand. And the ruling was that during the charge phase, during the untap phase, once that happens, your opponent will have to drop their entire hand, which is insane. So for every card that gets stood, they're gonna have to warp a card in their hand, and that's really powerful. I don't think it's too powerful, but I think it's going to be on those cell chain levels of when people get hit by it, they are going to hate it. So I foresee that card being either hugely loved by those who are playing it and really hated by people who are going to have to face against it. So one more card actually that has to do with the destruction rares is the one drop Babidi. So the one drop Babidi essentially makes it so that none of the destruction rares have a specified cost, and it also lowers their energy cost by one, effectively making them all two drops. And he's a one cost blue. So it's a good card for the deck. Now you're asking yourself, well, why would I want to run a deck with every single one of these? And that's specifically because of the SR that was released. So we got Arcane Absorption Majin Buu. So he's an 8-drop black card with triple strike ultimate. Activate main for 6. Choose one Evil Wizard Babidi card in your drop area or warp. Play the chosen card, then play this card from your hand on top of the card you played with this skill. So get a drop Babidi, put him on board, and then play Majin Buu on top of him. Why do you want Babidi under Buu? Well, because when you play this card, if there is an Evil Wizard Babidi under this card, choose up to 5 Agents of Destruction cards from your drop area or warp and play them. So effectively, you play Majin Buu, and from there you get back 5 Destruction rares from your drop or warp instantly on the board. So we're talking you're KOing a card, you're resting a card. Depending on your leader, you have a dual attack, double striker, 20k. So you are getting a lot of things on that board. And the ridiculous thing is that there is the 5-drop Buu, I believe it's Evil Absorption Majin Buu, and you can Union Absorb with that card to get out Arcane Absorption Majin Buu, which is ridiculous. So right now there's a lot of messing around with people trying to see how they can play it. The problem with trying to turbo out the combo is that you're not guaranteed to get the destruction rares in your drop or your warp. But there are definitely ways to do that. There are cards that you can combo with that'll allow you to just dump cards from your deck into your drop. So I think this will be a deck to watch out because built correctly, it's a very versatile mid-range deck because you have board control, you have hand control, and you have high damage output cards. Mix that all in, and I think you have a recipe for something that can be very strong. But that said, it's really fun, and I am definitely going to try deck building and seeing what we can match together. Also, for what it's worth, this is a really great way to sell, booster packs because one Majin Buu means you're gonna have to get your hand on a whole lot of destruction rares. But this set we got 2 SCRs, and sticking with the theme, the second SCR is Broly, Ultimate Agent of Destruction. He's an 8-drop, 4 green, 40k with double strike, dual attack, ultimate. When one of your green battle cards with an energy cost of 7 or more is removed from a battle area by a skill or KO'd, activate this skill. You may choose all cards other than this card from your hand and place them in your drop area. And if you do, play this card from your hand. When this card attacks, if your life is at 1, your opponent chooses all of the cards in their hand and places them in their drop area. This card is pretty nutty, and it fits really well with the other Broly archetype. Note, though, that this is not a Broly BR. This is a regular Broly. So it's a nice throwback to the old archetype. The issue is he doesn't have Deflect. And we are very much in a cold bloodlust meta. So I can just foresee your opponent playing this baddie, losing their entire hand, and then bloodlust. Now you have a 40k vanilla creature. But nevertheless, it's really strong card, and you're just a minus killie zone away from protecting yourself anyhow. It's a good, strong card, and the art looks sick. For those of you who aren't watching on YouTube, I highly recommend you go looking up his art, and all the art actually for this set has been fantastic. But yeah, so that's really it for Broly. Not much more to say than that. If he hits the board, you're probably gonna lose the game if you can't deal with him. However, if you can deal with him, your opponent's at 1 life. Because that's the setup that they tried to do to be able to get you to drop your hand. Which is really dangerous because you have no hand, they have no hand, but you have your leader, you can swing in, you can draw cards. So it's a very ballsy all or nothing play. But as a one-of ultimate card, I don't think that's the biggest issue. I think having Hail Marys in decks is really important. One thing that Danny Hype actually mentioned in one of the PPG streams that I watched recently was that, you know, he's won many games going in and with Shenron and just giving like his dirty 5k, like 15k triple attack. And sometimes that's just what you need when you just need Hail Marys to be able to figure, well, I'm going to lose anyway, so let's see if I can just go all out and get there. And, you know, Broly is a great card to do that with. And those are all the cards we got this week. That pretty much covers everything we're going to see in Set 6. And I'm really excited. I think we got a lot of, you know, janky stuff. Like the play from energy stuff that Blue does is weird. And I don't know how competitive it is, but I kind of like weird. I like being able to see and try new things. And I think that Red is getting a lot of great stuff. The Negate is really powerful that they're getting. And I like the fact that it seems they're trying to balance more. The game's going in a good place. I'm enjoying the design space that they're playing with. With that all covered, let's jump over to celebration events. So, for those of you not in the know, Bandai is hosting a number of celebration events, which are effectively just tournament weekends where throughout Canada and the US, there'll be free tournaments hosted. Now, you should have, if you want to participate in, let's say, the team events and a number of the single events, pre-registration closed off a few weeks ago. However, there will be a ton of side events to participate in, and the pricing looks really cool. There's a bunch of really awesome promos. There's some framed cards for top placers, and the event looks really great. One of the big things for the celebration events is that their Saturdays will have a team event. For those of you who are unsure how a team event works, you're going to be a group of 3 players, player A, B, and C. And you cannot share cards between deck lists. So if I'm running even a single Senzu Bean in my deck, neither of my teammates can run Senzu Beans. And this is true for all 3 decks, including sideboards. So it's a very interesting format, but also very skewed. And it takes its own special kind of preparation. The Scouter Report made a great video talking about the things that you should try and do to prepare for these events. But to give you a quick summation, the idea is that you can communicate during the events. So make sure that whatever player is per se in the middle will be one of your more experienced players, maybe playing a faster deck, so that they can run through their game and be able to spend time helping both players on either side of the tables. Because throughout the match, you cannot leave your table. So you are going to have to make sure to strategically place yourself so that the best players can help each other out more efficiently. Also, if you can, run the most busted version of your deck. The fact that no deck can share cards means that for the most part, you have a 2 in 3 chance of dodging any silver bullets from your deck. So not only do they have to draw the silver bullet, but they just might not even be able to run it. So for that sake, let's say you're running a Broly leader, look into maybe running a bunch of Shugeshes, because they are unlikely 2 out of 3 chance to even be able to have a Cronoa in their decks. And that's something really important to consider. So you want to be as balls to the wall as you can be in terms of what you're trying to do with your deck. And you can slim down on answers a bit more, because if you're doing a proactive combo or engine, the onus is really on your opponent to try and stop you. The organization has been a bit funky with these events, so I would actually highly recommend that you go check out the tournament organizers' Facebook pages or websites to get more detailed information on how they plan on hosting it. For example, ARG recently made out a post saying that if you signed up for the singles event, you'll be able to jump on in and you can actually register on site for the single event. However, for the team events, if you did not pre-register, you will not be able to move forward. So supposedly it's been very finicky on knowing what players and what teams have been registered. So I would most definitely double check with your tournament organizers to make sure that everything's okay and you'll still be able to get into the event. That said, I personally will be going to the Montreal event, which is happening this weekend on March 2nd and 3rd. I will be playing both events on Saturday and Sunday. So if you happen to see me there, feel free to say hi. I won't bite. And it'll be fun. I'll be participating in both the team event and the singles event. And if I can catch any side events, I definitely will. I'm there to jam out some Dragon Ball, and I'm looking forward to participating with the community. For deck of the week, we are going to be looking at LKK Broly, also known as Let's Kill Krillin Broly. So if you guys remember my host last week, the Eggman, he's been pushing the Let's Kill Krillin package for a while now on his channel, and I highly recommend you go see them. It's basically become a meme at this point. So for those of you who don't know the Let's Kill Krillin package, in Clash of Fates they released Final Showdown Son Goku, and what he effectively says is if a 4-dropper higher Krillin is KO'd from the field, you can play him for free, and when he is played on the field from your hand, you can KO a card ignoring barrier, and he's a 25k double striker. So very powerful effect. It's reminiscent of Shugesh Explosive, where if your opponent's not properly expecting it, you can blow up their face. Be aware if you're killing a 4-drop Krillin, because if you do, you might feel sick. So I'm looking at the Broly version of Eggman's deck here, and it runs the Broly Legend Dawning. And the Broly interaction is great because he's included Chilai the Beautiful in his deck. Chilai is one of the rares from Clash of Fates that says whenever you KO a card with one of your card's abilities, your opponent has to drop a card. So that goes well with the Final Showdown Son Goku. Pop a card, they have to drop card. And he also runs a Broly package. The Endless Evolution Broly, where if you play him, pop a card, which then can evolve into the Deathless Warrior Broly. Play him, pop a card. He has that mixed in with a blue package, so it runs Senzu Bean, Borgos, Whis Coercion, and Son Goku, and that's primarily just to be able to give you time and some longevity. Senzu Bean is always a great versatile card, allows you to be able to push for long turns if that's what you need to do, as well as survive turns that might have to stave off some aggro. Finally, he tops off the deck with Shenrons, because those are great mid-range tools to be able to draw out the game, as well as Temporal Rescue Trunks as his super combo, because the movie promo Broly is a black card. Do not forget that. And naturally, the deck tops off with having 8 4-drop Krillins, one of which is a blocker, which is an easy way to get the pop off, and the 1-drop Negotiator Krillin, who's a barrier. Barrier 5k. So all in all, I just really want to highlight the Let's Kill Krillin package because in the last few events now, and even on the different social media pages that I've been seeing, a lot of people are saying that they haven't paid much attention to Clash of Fates and what came out in it. And these are things that can really catch you on surprise. If you're not sure about the archetype and then you're full swinging and you lose your boss monster, that's a big problem, right? So highlighting decks like these, make sure that people are aware of them. So Let's Kill Krillin package is fun. I wouldn't call it tiered in any way, but it's definitely something that you could see out there. So be careful when they're playing Krillins, especially if they're 4-drops, and make sure that you can play around Final Showdown Son Goku, because he pops any card regardless of barrier, which is very dangerous. So I'd be careful for that. So thanks Eggman for the deck. If you have a deck that you'd like us to highlight on Deck of the Week, make sure to send the link to me either in the description of my YouTube video or tweet at me at Espira TV. Additionally, if there's any questions you would like us to answer in our mailbox, don't forget to tweet at me at Espira TV with the hashtag SuperComboMailbox, or if you're watching this on YouTube, leave a comment in the description down below and I'll be sure to get to it in next week's episode. So that's it for today's episode, everyone. I know it's a short one. However, outside of the cards, it's been fairly quiet. I'll be sure to come back with a longer video next week when we have the events to cover. I'll also make sure that we have returning guests, and I'll be able to give you more content. If you have any recommendations for the show, I highly appreciate any form of criticism. I'm really trying to dish out the show into something that people are looking forward to coming back to week after week. Let me know. Let me know. Tweet at me or leave me comments. It's greatly appreciated. So that'll be it for me. If you'd like to reach me, you can tweet at me at Espira TV, or feel free to join our Discord server. I'll have the link in the show notes or in the description down below. Ciao!